Jeez.
That's very exciting. Good morning,
Good
everybody. Welcome to the
morning.
Daily Whatever Show. I am Lawrence Winterman.
I am Dana Dubois. Good
Good
morning,
morning,
Lawrence.
Dana.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Oof. I'm doing well. Exciting news this morning.
Indeed, we
We
do
are,
have very exciting news this morning.
we do. We are now streaming, not just on Substack, but we are live on YouTube and Facebook, I think. I mean, we have
And,
to go
and Instagram.
and Instagram. I didn't even know about that one, Lawrence.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. So we are quad platform this morning. That's amazing. And that's all
Yes.
you. I don't want to take any credit. I mean, not for the ideas, but the actual, like, you did the work. So thank you. Um, it's really exciting. If we seem a little distracted, we might be checking platforms.
Yeah, it's
But
probably okay. Maybe not Instagram because there's some weirdness to Instagram that I haven't figured out. You have to go click a button on Instagram once you do it that
yeah,
doesn't seem to be working. So
fabulous. Get the intern to do it,
everywhere
Lawrence.
except
Get the in,
Instagram,
yeah,
I suppose.
just get the intern to do it. We're I just like to make I
Intern
just like
jokes because ha ha ha, wouldn't it be nice if we actually had somebody who could handle the
would it
minutia for us?
oh my
What a
God.
radical concept.
Yeah. One day we can dare to dream. It was a big weekend this weekend, Lawrence. You're still here in Seattle. I didn't see you at all because you're busy
I'm
getting
a
the
busy
platform.
businessman, busy with business.
Yes.
Oh, we're live on Facebook. That is so exciting.
Oh, cool. I have I'm actually not gonna go look because I'll be like squirrel and I'll forget how to talk. My glasses are bugging me a little bit here. Yeah, we have so much to talk about. We have one of our beloved whatever community members joining us today. Polly is going to be here in just a few minutes.
Woo, Polly Walker Blakemore. I can't wait to meet Polly. She's
I
been such an
know
active and crucial member of the community for so long. I
she
feel like I
has.
know her, but it will be very exciting to meet her in person.
It is one of the biggest thrills of running the show of being like, I know this person online. Let's get on. Let's bring them on and let's meet them and introduce them to everybody. You know, with a face and a voice and all of those things, not just words on a screen. So cannot wait. Very excited for that. And also I had a very active weekend, Lawrence, but I had this like big learning, I guess. Oh God, did I just bless you? Did I just say learning? Just kill me. Bless you.
Yeah, I'm allergic to you using corporate speak on the show, Dana.
I think you should be. I think you I apologize to everyone. I will atone somehow, hopefully, during the course of this live. You can probably hear I'm hoarse. I went to a concert Saturday night that was amazing, but the really amazing thing, and Lawrence, I think you'll get why this was so big for me, and I feel like it's a metaphor to take into the week, the world. I before the pandemic used to host a soup party every fall, and it was a competition. I would invite friends over, and they would all bring their crock pots full of soup right around this time of year when the weather starts getting really cold and gray and just kind of yucky. And we would get all cozy in my house, taste all the soups and pick a winner and send everybody home with leftovers for their freezers for the big dark. That stopped during pandemic and never got picked back up. Um, I never picked it up in part because my daughter's friend group fragmented, and it was the moms and dads of those kids who um, were the attendees, right? Um, to make a very long story short, my daughter has reconciled with these friends, and a few weeks ago was like, "Mom, I want to host the soup party." And so last night, I had I thought there were going to be like 5 or 6 kids, 15 teen-
Jesus.
teenagers in my little house, and they brought. I was like, "Oh God, they're kids," so I made like 2 huge things of soup. They were 12 crock pots on my table, all the bread and stuff, and It was the old friends, the new friends, and it was this huge, um, like something I started. My child picked up the mantle and continued and did it in this like the whole idea of the party is like warmth and community as things are dark and like these different parts of her life all joining together. Like what a magical thing. I went and hid upstairs because, as you can imagine, the house was pure chaos, but what good kids. Like, it was so wholesome,
That
and I feel
is
like,
very wholesome and
yes,
adorable.
the moral arc of the universe maybe doesn't always happen right when we want things to start moving on that arc, but, like, if you plant seeds, they do grow, I guess, is, like, my takeaway from it, and, um, if
Aw.
I probably should write a story about that, Lawrence, but,
Yeah,
I
if
don't
only you were a writer
if
who
only
was
I
good
were
at
a writer.
memoir, who could write a touching personal narrative about it.
Right. I'm working on it by saying it out loud. And so this time, here, Kira, good dog. Uh, I'm really tired today. The funny thing is, this is my kitchen table where I have all my podcasting stuff set up. And so I had to break it all down to put all the crock pots on it and then rebuild it all last night. Um, but I have this thing of like, if joy takes effort and you can't stop making an effort just because you're tired. And some things are worth being very tired for. So
Aw, that's a
take that
very good
into,
philosophy.
yes, take that
It
into
seems
our
like a
week.
really harsh segue.
Yes, a real harsh segue into, well, is it harsh? So I think the big news from the personal to the worldwide meta
Right,
stuff
is that
happening.
Trump has come out and said
Yeah,
that he wants the Republicans to vote to release the Epstein files,
yeah.
which, gosh, that's not sus. That's not weird.
Right. I don't think that it was potentially tampered with at all.
Oh,
His
yeah,
word is
no.
inviolate, so
I,
I
I
could.
I'm not for a minute predicting that that they're going to vote to release them, and then Pam Bondi's going to be like, "But Mr. Pretzeldent, you ordered me to investigate Democrats, so now it's an ongoing investigation, and I can't release it." I'm 100%
Oh,
sure that that's what's going to happen, and then
oh.
if somehow they overcome that and they do release them, I am absolutely certain that the version that we will get will, have all Democrats doing horrible things. We all know Bill Clinton's going to be in there, and then it'll be like, and Donald Trump donated money to charity, or like it won't be
Right.
embarrassed in there at all. It'll be like
Look,
how
war in
he
Venezuela.
right,
Squirrel.
or war in Venezuela.
I,
Or if you're
any
reading
number of
Marlon Weems, our buddy who is a financial guru, it's that the AI bubble is about to burst and it's going
yes.
to lead us into the greater depression. So
Right.
take
So
your
we
pick.
won't have time to worry. I'm
Happy
just
Monday.
yeah. I saw that news has gradually rolled out, right? That first it was Mike Johnson being like, "Well, yeah, of course we're going to vote on. We're going to do it." Once they had the votes, and now I have Hamilton in my head. You don't have the votes. You don't have the votes. Once he did have the votes, he was like, "Yeah, of course we're gonna all Republicans should vote to do this." We talked about this during Fucked Up Friday, Lawrence, while you were off on your secret mission. Um, that it was voting in bulk, so that no Republican has to like go out on the limb and be the bad guy. Now he's like, everybody do it, and then it was Trump on last night just being like, yeah, of course you should do that. Yeah, it's really disconcerting when your bully narcissist is suddenly doing exactly what you want him to do.
Yeah, yeah,
That's never a good it's never a good sign.
yeah,
I don't know what is in store for us that week or with that this week, but here we are. So you think, yeah, the Pam Bondi thing is interesting. That order of events makes sense.
yeah.
Also, Mr.
I'm not the first
Pretzeldent.
person to think this, but I'm pretty certain that that's what's going to happen. That they realized, once again, that they have like interpreted the rules and the regulations and the laws and the guardrails in a way in which they're going to be able to say, but precedent at the Justice Department is that we don't release ongoing investigations. It's totally coincidental that Donald Trump reopened the Epstein file investigations into Democrats right
Right.
before everyone was about to vote to release them. Who could have predicted?
All the Gen Xers who know how to look around the corner.
Right, like every fucking Gen X person who has ever existed.
Oh, Lawrence, well, at least we'll have each other as it all unfolds. Sorry, I'm futzing so much this morning. I just reset everything up. So I'm trying to get everything in the right spot. My microphone is over here. Does it sound okay?
Yeah, no, it sounds great.
Okay.
So I'm just waiting for Polly to join us. Polly, if you're in the chat, um, go ahead and click that link I sent you and jump into the waiting room, and we can add you to the conversation.
Jason is saying my mic is a
StreamYard
little
today, so it's slightly different than the normal shenanigans.
and slightly better because we have our names.
Right. Yes. The names make it better. The
Uh,
names, the branding,
yes.
all the things.
Jason, you're saying my mic is a little hot. Am I too loud? Should I move it back? There's a little clipping.
Oh, I'm not hearing it, but yeah, maybe try moving it back so you're not clipping. If other people are hearing that, that's not what I'm
Just
getting. That's okay.
just Jason so far. Jason, are you back from your trip? Stephanie doesn't hear it either. Okay, good.
I don't think he is. I think he's still roaming around the magnificence of London. And Polly's here. Polly, I am adding you to the chat in three,
Yay!
2, 1. There she
Blast
is.
off.
Hello, Polly.
Hi.
Hi, good morning, Polly. It's so nice to put a face to a name.
Okay, all right. I'm frozen.
Are you?
We don't see you as frozen. We can see you and hear you just fine.
You're a little bit dark. If you have a light to turn on or anything like that, we can still see you. It's okay.
Do I need to close the,
To close the what?
No, so on StreamYard, you just it can be a little confusing because if you see the other chat and then you're looking at StreamYard is basically live and the chat on Substack is a couple seconds delayed. So what I do when I'm on StreamYard is I just look at the StreamYard chat because it's sort of like the real-time interaction.
Is that okay?
Are you frozen now? Polly, can you hear us okay?
it's really, I'm not sure which screen I'm supposed to look at.
Okay, I would go ahead and close the Substack screen and just look at the StreamYard screen because there's about a 5-second delay and it can get very confusing. So if you look at StreamYard, that's the real-time conversation we're having and it's broadcasting out there, but it will be.
Okay, there, that's better.
Is that easier?
All right, but now you need light.
It's totally fine. We can see you just fine. If you had one you could easily flip on, I'd say go for it. And if not, don't worry about it. Oh, while we're doing this, Lawrence, I just went and checked and I see us live on Facebook. That is a thrill. What a time to be living in.
Okay, there we go.
That's
Yay.
better.
Yay.
Welcome. Hi, Polly.
Thank you. I'm
and
glad to be
welcome.
here. I'm honored. This is just kind of fun and I just kind of random and I was just kind of tossed it out there if you guys wanted to do something a little bit lighter than the usual doom and gloom. And we talk about volunteering and puttering, whatever.
Yeah, I absolutely love that idea, Polly. We like to talk about how when Dana and I originally had the idea to do this, it was mostly supposed to be about just our friendship and like all the random stuff we talk about. And it only ends up being about politics every day because we're all drowning in politics every second, thanks to what's his name. So we love the idea of talking about volunteerism. It's such a great topic. Before we get started, though, could you just everyone in the chat knows you because you're in the chat, a valued member of the community, but maybe just give folks an introduction into who you are.
Sure. I live in Louisville, Kentucky. I'm kind of retired, I would say. I grew up here. I went away to school, came back. My first job was in a bookstore here, a local independent, since gone out of business. And then
Oh.
for the majority of my 20s, I was writing and editing. And most of that time I was writing and editing for a company that published technical journals. Then in my late 20s, I went to law school here. And then soon
Oh,
after I
nice.
graduated, I got married and got pregnant. And I had a very brief 6-month law career as a labor lawyer. I have twins, boy and a girl. They're both 22, both obviously. And they are not identical. You'd be surprised how often I get that question. But
Really?
anyway,
With a boy and a girl, people still ask that
yeah.
question. That's so
My
funny.
son is finishing up college, and my daughter is teaching swimming lessons to kids.
Oh, how sweet.
And 2.5 years ago, I took a medicine that made me suicidal. I'm a suicide survivor. In fact, we live by a river, and one night I did go up to one of the bridges, and anyway, I recovered from that. And last summer, a year ago, I divorced my husband, so I'm single, and life is good.
Holly, we're so excited to meet you in person, and thank you for being vulnerable and sharing that with us. I too am a suicide survivor. I had a plan that I did not follow through on at the last minute, and you know, when those voices in your head kind of take over and the darkness creeps in, it's really hard to break free of that. And so I'm so grateful.
Well, I'm candid when I talk about it, kind of as a matter of education, because it was for a medical condition.
Yeah.
And within 24 hours of taking the medicine, I started to have the feeling, the intimations like, gosh, I'm doing this for the last time. It was really weird. And then like 3 days later, my entire house was weaponized. Everything in my house I saw as a weapon.
Yeah.
To bring the urge to want to hurt myself to an end. It wasn't so much that I wanted to die. I wanted the feeling of wanting to hurt myself to stop.
Wow, Polly.
And then on that night, I drove to the bridge like at 1 a.m, and I took like 20 Xanax I had from a leftover prescription, and I drank a beer, and I stepped over, and I was just kind of there on the ledge. It was so smart of me to take those drugs and drink that beer because I was too stoned to move.
Oh my gosh.
And the last thing I remember is looking behind me on the bridge, and there are first responders there. Somebody must have seen me and called.
Yeah.
And I remember standing there and like, God, it's such a beautiful night. When am I going to feel stoned, so I can just get this over with? Look at the moon. It's glinting on the water. It's just beautiful. And then I was in the ER psych unit, a place of no sleep and total violence for 3 days. And then I got to the psych unit, and I was there for about 2 weeks, put myself back together medically and psychologically. And I also in the process lost a lot of weight. And so that's how I got to go to Dairy Queen every day and get supersized large cones. And I have a whole series on my Substack about my visits to Dairy Queen and the friendships I formed there. So
Polly,
that is a book right there.
The story is so intense, but I love the way that you describe it as, even in that moment, you were looking at the beauty of the night and the moon glinting off the water, right? I think often feelings like that, whether they're medically induced or, for other reasons, they're often about just wanting the pain to stop. But, I know for me, it was kind of the same. I love the beauty of the world. I just didn't like the pain that I was experiencing. Well,
it's very weird to have your brain hijacked like that.
Right. Yeah.
And it wasn't like I was depressed for years and just thought, oh, it's time to off myself. It was a sudden, out of character, completely radical experience. But anyway.
Yeah. It is strange when we have those moments when we're like, we have free will, we have intellect, but also we are a bag of chemicals. Like we are
right. At the whim of the various hormones and chemicals that flood through our system in any given moment. Yeah, it's fascinating. Yeah.
Okay.
So Polly, you talk about volunteerism a lot, and I know that's an active part of your life. And you wrote this great story that I had the link. I really wanted to grab it. Oh, there it is. Okay, I'm going to grab it and put it into the chat for everyone. And you just talk about kind of the simple joy of volunteering, but also how valuable it is, like literally dollars and cents valuable, that volunteer hours last year, there were like 5 billion hours donated, which is like $167 billion into the economy. So I was wondering if you could just give people kind of an overview of your, your perception of volunteering and volunteerism and what it means to you.
Sure. Also, I want to add that this morning I looked up that the average, if volunteering were to have an hourly wage, it's about $34 an hour.
Wow.
So it pays a lot better than a lot of other things. And also another nice thing about volunteering is it's really the ideal job because there's endless demand. There is no place that doesn't need a volunteer. In my 20s, I volunteered for some civil rights organizations here in Louisville, I guess you could say. One for LGBTQ, and then like voter registration drives and things. And then when my children were in school, I volunteered like at school events, bake sales, teacher appreciation. And then it really was after my suicide attempt where I got back into volunteering. And the children were more independent and needing less attention and supervision and things. So I at that time I trained to be a volunteer in a hospice home. They had beds for people with 6 months or less time to live, and so I did that for a few months, and then I also played bingo with seniors at a community center here.
Oh my gosh, that sounds like fun.
It was a blast. I mean, it was really, really fun. And all of this volunteering really was to kind of an effort to put myself back together after that experience and just to have some structure, fill my time, socialize with interesting people, different people. I also have volunteered at an organization here called Feed Louisville, which is a professionally run kitchen that takes donated and surplus food and makes meals for the food insecure. And right now they're making about 1,000 meals a day. And they have a few organizations that pick up from them, and then they deliver. They're affiliated with this place called Arthur Street Hotel, which is a transition home for people looking for permanent housing. And they've ramped up in light of the SNAP disruption to do about 1,000 meals a day. I really like that. Volunteers do kitchen prep work, or they break down big pies and stuff into smaller packages, or they box up the hot meals that the chefs prepare. And, there's no training. It was very social. It was also very tiring for me at that time because it was like 3 hours on your feet in a kitchen. But it was really fun. I have volunteered at the Ronald McDonald House here, which I like.
Yeah, boy, that one's been around a long time.
Yeah, and yes, it has. I started in the 80s, I think, by a former football player or a coach. I can't remember, but he recently died within the last 6 months.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And I can't remember his name, but it came about like he had a friend who had a child who was sick, something like that. I also belong to an organization called Impact 100. It's a national organization, and we have a local chapter here, which is, the idea is you get 100 women together. Each woman gives $1,000, and then you pick 5 grant recipients. Organizations apply to receive a $100,000 grant. And we just had and the ways, other than it is a significant financial contribution, but the women who started it here, it's a check you really think about, how do you want it spent, and you get very invested in reviewing the grant applications, learning about the organizations in your community that are doing good and how you can support them. And that's a big chunk of change, $100,000. It makes a material difference, even in a large organization like hospice or something like that here.
So that's an interesting model to me. Let me just make sure I heard that correctly. So there are women each donate $1,000 as to who are part of this organization, and then they get to vote collectively about who that money goes to.
That's right. Yeah, we just had our 2025 award
Yeah.
last week, and we had 8 finalists. 5 of them
Okay.
got 100,000, and then the other 3 each got 10,000. I can't even remember who we gave to. One of them was, I think it's called American Initiative, which was for new immigrants to the country to help them get established and
Oh, that's lovely.
everything. So they got $1,000. And then we have a school, I'll call it the West End, which is the underserved part of our city. They got a grant for their music program. There's one that got last year, Granny's Birth Initiative, about an organization that helped women give birth and the first year of the child's life, that kind of support.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
And so it requires, an investment, but there's also ways to serve on committees with that organization, which I did, which I really liked. So yeah, we have a volunteer, we have an organization that helps homeless women and children. And I guess, well, my main gig right now is with St. John Center for Homeless Men. It's a day shelter for homeless men here downtown. I'm there on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturdays. And in fact, when I'm there on Tuesdays, I'm in the mailroom, and that's where I watch the show.
Nice.
So that makes me so happy.
And then I can't watch it on Saturday because on Saturdays I'm at the front desk from 12 to 4. So
wow. So how?
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say, how many different organizations do you volunteer for? That was quite the list.
Well, right now St. John is my main gig because I like the best for a lot of reasons. I stopped volunteering at. Well, I like Field Louisville a lot, but I couldn't because the groups changed every time I volunteered, and I didn't feel like I got friendships or relationships.
Okay.
Got to know other people.
Yeah.
Are you there?
I am. Your connection is cutting out a little bit, but I think it's better now. Did you guys hear that too, or was it just me?
Yeah, no. It was, okay. Yeah, but it's good now.
I hope it doesn't go out because I find at 10:30 around here, my neighbors must be streaming sports or real estate because it's everything locks up all the time. And I rebooted before the show, and so I hope it doesn't go out. But anyway,
yeah.
I really like Feed Louisville. It's a great organization, but I also really value the friendships I've developed with the staff and the volunteers at St. John Center. And I stopped. I believe in the mission of the hospice home, but the shifts there were very long. They were 5 hours. It wasn't the death and the dying that got to me. Although when you're dealing with bed sores and emptying someone's catheter or whatever, there's a big stink factor that can really, get to you.
Yeah, I used to work in nursing homes many years ago as a speech therapist, and it's you have to have a pretty strong stomach emotionally and also from an olfactory perspective.
Yeah, the dying didn't. I mean, I'm not. I wasn't indifferent to it, but it didn't. Dying to me is very matter of fact. There is a moment of awe and wonder and grief. Well, the grief can continue, but then it's just kind of well, I guess I better go make lunch for so-and-so. And you just got to keep going.
Right. Pragma kicks back in. Yeah.
But one thing about the hospice home was that I started to feel unappreciated, or I started to have some issues with how it was managed, and some other volunteers did too, and they were able to overcome their discomfort.
Right.
And I wasn't, so I just decided that I just better not participate anymore. And Ronald McDonald House, I really like that, but that also again was not social enough for me. And so you can guess that I really like interacting with people.
Yeah, no, I was gonna dig into that a little bit and kind of ask you. It sounds like making connections and finding new friends through the volunteering work is a piece of what activates you to do it. Do you have any stories about people that you've met or, good experiences along those lines?
Yeah, they've all been good, and they're all interesting people, and not just because they're out there trying to make a difference in the community or with their neighbors or anything like that. And since I've been at St. John the longest, I can explain a little bit more about what, like at the front desk, we sign men into the online roster, we answer the phone, we hand out supplies. In the mailroom, it's just one little office room where guys can come check their mail. We also have a toiletries room where they can get toiletries to go take a shower. We offer showers. What else do the volunteers do? There's one other thing that I'm spacing on right now. Run supplies from storage and things like that.
Yeah.
I don't really like being in the toiletries room because it's where we do all the laundry for the towels and stuff. And again, it's not social for me. It's kind of back in the back. But
Right.
it's hard right now to recall like specific instances or anecdotes. I write a lot about the shelter on being at St. John on some of my posts.
Yeah.
And so there's a little bit of that in there. But there's also being at St. John, it really does a lot for perspective and appreciation and gratitude.
I bet.
Not just like, there were, especially after when I was recovering from my suicide attempt, I would go in and just really out of sorts, and then I'm getting the mail for a guy who just had his camp cleared, or another guy who has like absolutely nothing in the world, and how are you? I'm fine. I woke up today, and it's just kind of like, it really like gets your head right, about being grateful for things.
Yeah. Years ago, I volunteered with an organization here in Seattle called REWA, Refugee Women's Alliance. And man, let me tell you, there's nothing like being around women who have literally fled war zones or abuse or horrible, horrible conditions to get their kids, like literally they're fleeing with their kids to save their children, basically. And talking to those women who are just so grateful to be here and so excited to learn English and, try to kind of become American and be a part of, a part of society is so humbling. It was like, oh God, I don't actually have any problems. All of my problems are first world problems.
Yeah.
These are women who have literally like fled with nothing but their children and the clothes on their back and no money. And they're, so eager to learn English so they can go get a job at McDonald's, and I'm just like, wow, Winterman, you're a fucking asshole.
Right. Everything is fine. I didn't know you volunteered for them, Lauren. See, 47 years later, and I'm still learning things about you. That's amazing.
Here's a story. Once I was in the toiletries room, and I'm feeling really hassled because all the toiletries are donated, and there are so many kinds of containers with so many ways of dispensing, and it's just really disorganized. It makes me a little crazy. And the washer and dryer, they just do not work, and you always have to coax them, and they're loud and warm, and it's just I wasn't having a good day there. And so this guy named Johnny comes to the door, and he says, do you have any aftershave? And I'm like, I would just say, yeah, here's some bottles or whatever on the counter. And he picks up one with red. I can't see what the label is, but he picks up one with red liquid in it. And he turns and he reads the label and he says, chivalry. Let's go with that. That's how I feel today.
Ooh.
And I was like, okay, I can get over my issues with the shower room here. It's just like, and also.
What a sweet story.
I've often, before that day, I thought, there's just got to be an easier way to do this. Just one kind of shampoo, one kind of conditioner, one aftershave. And then after Johnny said that to me, I was like, the guys don't have a lot of choices out there.
Right.
Yeah.
God, Polly.
And it's really nice when you have red, blue, or green.
Yes. We are not expected to walk into a store and be like, that's the shampoo, and you just buy that. People have different tastes, different hairstyle or textures, different scent preferences. So there's a sort of dignity in getting to pick, isn't there?
Well,
yeah, and there's
dignity,
also,
I think, a sense of agency, right? Like, like you were saying, Polly, people who don't often have any choice in what they're experiencing in their daily life, if you give them the choice, even a simple one of which aftershave do you want to use, which shampoo, it starts to, I think, bring back that feeling of agency and being empowered to make choices in their life. Even if it's as simple as I want the red one and not the blue one,
Yeah.
That can be an empowering moment that helps somebody, on their journey.
Yeah, it's also pretty interesting at the shelter, like the different dynamics among the staff and the men and the regulars and things. And when there are some guys there who, I mean, the guys are there for a variety of reasons. And there are some guys who chronically make, not good choices. And it's really interesting for me to observe staff interacting with them and like letting them have free will and just aching every time they don't make the right choice. It's hard. There's
Sounds like
another,
parenting in a way.
yeah, one of my favorite opportunities actually happened the other day when I was checking a guy in, and he came to the counter and I said, "Mr. Montgomery, I got you checked in." He's like, "You remembered me. I really appreciate that."
Yeah.
And so my favorite opportunity at the shelter is just to say, "I know who you are." And it takes, after checking guys in and checking their mail and being able to, over time put a face with a name, I just love saying that. It's like, I got you. I know who you are.
Yeah. Again, another thing that seems so small in daily life, but can mean so much in a situation like that to somebody who's, trying to rebuild their lives. Yanni made a really interesting comment that I want to share. He said, "Hell, I think we should have a volunteerism course in high school, get some of these people to see how bad things really can get." And I mean, and not just that, but to, instill in young people the idea that you can start giving back to your community right away. You can start volunteering, immediately. You don't have to wait.
In Seattle public schools, it's a graduation requirement. You have to have, I think, 40 hours of volunteer work. So they don't teach it in a class per se, but the kids do have to find a place where they want to volunteer and to put in the time.
Yeah,
It is.
St. John has done a really great job of integrating the I think there are some organizations where volunteers feel like an add-on. But at St. John, they are integral to the way the shelter functions, and it could not operate as effectively if it does without volunteer contributions of time. And also there's volunteers who have an expertise like IT and legal. And in fact, the IT system is maintained by 2 volunteers who between them work a full 40-hour week.
That's a lot of work for just 2 folks. I did want to say there are a few folks weighing in the chat about their time spent being homeless and expressing their gratitude for the work that you're doing. So definitely wanted to put that out there, that the work you're doing is so important and so timely. When you reached out and asked about coming on the show and we talked about this as a topic, top of mind for me was SNAP benefits and the games. Even hard to call them games, but the way that the federal government is pulling them back, offering them up. How has that impacted the work that you're doing at this shelter?
Well, the shelter doesn't have a meal service. We get donations of things like ramen and snack foods and things like that. And sometimes when guys ask, "You got any snacks or soup?" Staff will get something for them if anything's available. But actually, it sounds harsh, but I don't mean it to be this way. But they don't want to get into the regular habit of giving guys food because there are some kitchens around town where they can get Salvation Army, Franciscan Kitchen. There are a few other places where they can get breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And St. John is not really set up to offer a regular meal service. There's a microwave, and we still have a guy coming from SNAP on Tuesdays and Thursdays, helping people sign up for and maintain their benefits.
Gotcha. Okay. Have you seen any changes in numbers of people who are needing help or the process? Just wondering if you've seen any impact. If you haven't, where you
No, I
are, we
mean,
can move on.
it says we have a capacity of 55 or 60, and it stays busy 8 to 4 every day, 7 days a week. We're open Christmas, Thanksgiving. I mean, I'll be there on Thanksgiving. It's, I'm not saying that like it's some big sacrifice. I'm glad to be there, but it stays steadily busy. Some services that the shelter offers, men can apply for, do the common assessment to apply for housing.
Yeah.
They can get birth certificate, ID, other services like that. They can take a shower. They can receive mail there, which is really important for
Yeah.
guys. It's where they get their ID and their benefits and all kinds of things. One thing that came up recently was Social Security is no longer mailing out paper checks.
Oh, yeah. I bet that.
And if you wanted to continue to receive a paper check, you had to fill out a waiver saying that basically you lived way too far out and that electronic payment was impractical, or you have some mental disability, which you had to describe in 1 or 2 sentences. How many men at the shelter do you think, could, so we just don't know what's happened to a lot of the paper checks that the men were receiving. There are many men there who are banked, they don't have accounts and they don't have access to the computers to print out the waivers. And, it's just like, so that was kind of a nightmare. We just try to get through. And every time we recognize a Social Security check, we put a note on it. When a guy came in to say, like, you have to fill out this waiver or go to a bank and open an account and stuff like that. So,
Wow, that's
and also
layer of cruelty.
It's answering the phone can be pretty intense. Just like somebody calls, like there's some guy in a wheelchair out at this intersection, and what can you do? Are you a needle exchange? There's certain days where it does kind of like accumulate and it just feels very, very heavy.
Yeah. What do you do? Is there a way to get through those days?
Huh?
Sorry. Is there a way that helps you get through those sorts of days?
I write a lot about it. I write in my journal, and I have a whole series of St. John stories that I meant to publish them on my Substack, but I've just kind of I just keep writing about other stuff, and some of them I'm trying to get published, and they, places won't take things that are previously published. But anyway.
Oh, interesting. Where are you trying to get them published? Like online or in a book?
In The Sun magazine is one, which is like, because my work is kind of hard to place. It's narrative nonfiction. It's kind of a combination of essay and diary, and I've been keeping a diary for 35 years. And when I started writing on Substack, I wrote a lot of essays, and I started to write about the shelter, which kind of turned into narrative nonfiction.
Yeah.
And then I have written and then I went through a phase where I just kind of wrote as if it were my diary. And then it occurred to me like, well, duh, I am a diarist, So, and I was trying, I think, with some of my essay writing to be a cultural critic or a social critic, which I'm not. I'm kind of I'm trying to tell some stories about humanity through most of my writing.
Yeah.
I got way off track with that. I don't know where I was going.
No, this is really interesting. I'm a memoirist as well, a diarist, a memoirist, whatever term you want to use. And I think that is the tricky part when it comes to getting published, is how to take something that's deeply personal to you and to kind of find the seed that has a commonality and make it relatable to others. So it draws them into the story. And then it goes from being a diary entry to creative nonfiction, right? And it can help it get published.
When I had this big epiphany about being a diarist, I'm like, well, who in the world wants to read about my day-to-day life? And not many people, and that's fine. But if you really pay attention to what you're thinking and feeling and experiencing on a day-to-day basis, and if you write that down, a lot of other people are experiencing what you feel too.
Yeah.
And a lot of feedback I get on my essays, my posts is like, I so get this, I do the same thing, and so it's really just an awareness. It's not so
Yeah.
much to talk about yourself, it's to talk about yourself in a way that people can relate to, because they often identify with the same feelings and the same experiences.
100%. I think there's so much that's relatable to the work that you're doing. You are just the story you shared about giving the man the choice of aftershave that he wants to pick from. Like, it's not just a story about the aftershave, right? It's a story about human dignity and agency and humanizing a population that is increasingly being dehumanized by our government in the media. Like, that's really important work.
When I was at St. John on Saturday, there was a guy out front in a wheelchair, white hair,
Mhm.
hospital scrubs, and I asked one of the staff members, Ella, before, I'm like, what's the deal with the dude in the wheelchair? And she said, EMS just dropped him off after he was discharged from the emergency room.
Without asking, they just dropped him at the front door.
Just left him out by the front steps, soaking in his own urine and shitting himself.
Oh my God. And in a
And it
wheelchair
was
in front of stairs.
and the bed line for the night we have a centralized bed line that people can call to get a bed in the different shelters that offer overnight accommodation.
Okay. I hadn't heard that term before, bedline, but that makes sense.
Yeah, we
Get
have an
bed
organization
hotline.
called Coalition for the Homeless, and they coordinate shelters with overnight accommodations, and you have to call by one, and it was past one, but Ella was going to see if she could still get him a bed somewhere, and then some guys were going to help see if they can get him in the shower and if they had any clothes in the back. We don't offer any clothes either, but we get donations, and we have Goodwill clothing vouchers. We get 10 a day, Monday through Friday, worth $25.
Oh, that's nice.
But they're limited to one a month. So, but also on Saturday, there's a veteran that I saw around my neighborhood. I live about 2 or 3 miles from the shelter, from St. John. And I saw him one afternoon up at this coffee shop I go to. And I was, he's like a new face or whatever. He's asleep in a chair. And I just kind of got intrigued. Actually, I wrote a piece about him. It's called Knock Knock. I published it a few months ago. And then I went to St. John a few days later, and he's down there sitting on the front steps. So he's homeless. I've learned more about him since then. He's a 71-year-old veteran. And Saturday he came in, and he started, I think he has dementia, and he carries things in those clear plastic bags with the white drawstrings that you get in the hospital or after a doctor's appointment. And when he was leaving that day, he said, he stopped by the front desk and he said, thank you. And he's very small, and he doesn't, something else is not right, but he went on to talk about being a sergeant in the Army, and I've seen war, and I've seen madness.
Oh my.
And, I'm just looking at him like eye to eye. And then some guys started to come in and bunch and swell. They were waiting to check in. And then he stopped and left for the day. And at one time, I don't mean to tell all these horror stories, but
no, we want to hear your
horror
stories.
Stories are just life,
Yeah.
Right.
A couple of months ago, there was this guy, probably in his 30s, wearing a nice puffy Patagonia jacket, and he'd been sitting quietly by the volunteer room, and he came up to the front desk and he put his hands out to either side, and he said, where can I go get a gun to shoot some dogs?
Oh my God.
Wow.
And the thing that disconcerted me was not what he said, but he was so calm. My first thought was, am I safe? I decided that I was. My second thought was, is he seeing a dog or a person?
Yeah.
And then I see the hospital band on his wrist. And when we check guys in, we ask them where they spent the night before. The options are jail,
Right.
outside other shelter. And I've long since thought we need a hospital option
Hospital.
and a bus,
Oh,
because a lot of guys come in and they just buy a bus pass for a month for $26 and they ride the buses. So this guy who came in asking about the dogs, I finally said, "You can't do that here, sir."
right.
And he went and he sat back down, and then he came back and he asked the same question about bears. And we went back and forth,
Mhm.
but that really drained me. That was
Yeah.
an intense day.
Yeah, you were, it sounds like you wear a lot of hats at this place, but the kind of on the fly therapist hat has to be front and center, where you're constantly assessing what this person in front of you needs, and your own safety in the situation. And that's a lot to take on. So my hat is off to you, Polly.
Well,
You're
I
doing
really
such
like it.
important work.
It's kind of gritty. It's real. I thrive in it. And I will admit that, and I'll be candid here, that there are some men there who just really get on my nerves,
Oh,
you know?
I believe
And
it.
that brings up a whole other moral issue. It's like, it feels uncomfortable to have a beef with a homeless man.
Right.
Right.
But there is a big, noisy man down there, and I made the mistake a few years ago, this is about boundaries, of bringing in some leftovers from home and offering them to this man. I'll call him Mr. Thomas. And now every time I see him there, he comes up and says, "What'd you bring me tonight? Got any more? I'd love some apple strudel." And he's totally serious. And I'm
Right.
like, man, I learned my lesson.
Right. Boundaries of
Boundaries, and you just gotta like keep them up. And then there's some guys, they're irritating. And I'm sorry to say that, but because but they're just like the rest of us.
Right. Sure. You can be homeless and be an asshole,
Yeah,
like,
I remember actually one time in the summer, we also have bottles of water, and sometimes we have frozen bottles, which the guys love because it's really hot and humid here. And so I handed this one guy a bottle that wasn't frozen. And he's like, "Can I have a frozen one, please?" And I was like, "Are you shitting me? Just take the bottle of water, I mean, what's your problem?" And then I'm like, get over yourself.
right.
This man is just as picky as the rest of us. He's just as human.
right. Well,
And
and he
then,
may have had, there may have been a reason that we didn't know, right? Like he needed the frozen bottle for, some other
Yeah,
reason.
an injury that he needed to put
Sure.
something cold on.
Polly,
May I
as
read?
we're coming to the top of the hour, I'm just wondering if you want to talk to people about how they can get involved in their own area, and maybe like how to discover places to volunteer.
Yeah, Metro United Way is a great way to become aware of volunteer opportunities. The big organizations, big nonprofits in any city like American Red Cross, Metro United Way, churches are also, a lot of churches have food pantries, sometimes food services. There's an app or a website called Mobilize, which you can sign up for, that is a clearinghouse for volunteer opportunities, I think. And if you just go online and look volunteer opportunities in my community.
I love it. We have a few comments I'd love to read that have just been coming in while you've been speaking. From Christiane, she says, "Thank you so much, Polly. People like you make more difference than you will ever know." And Gloria says, "I worked at a homeless shelter, and what I always did to make sure I knew everyone's names, and it made a big difference as a way of saying that I love and that I respect you." And it looks like Sushi Celiac has a link to where they volunteer at ogdenvalleyadaptive.org. Just so many comments coming in. Oh my gosh, I've kind of lost track of the chat. I see I was up higher in here, but so many people cheering on the very important work that you're doing, Polly. And
Well, thank you.
it's been
I
so
really enjoy it. It's no kind of sacrifice, and I'm honored to be able to be in a point in my life where I can do this, and it's become very meaningful to me, and in many, many ways. And I realize we're almost out of time, but Lawrence, I want to share one other anecdote about similar to the bottles, but
Yeah.
we hand out underwear, and no guy ever goes for the briefs, the tighty whities.
Right.
I don't understand it. I'm like, dude, you have no clothes. You need new underwear. And I hold up the tighty whities and I'm like, no, can't do that. Old school. I don't get it.
Yeah. There's just been this like massive sort of groundswell conversion among men. Like once we realized that boxers and boxer briefs were an option, tighty whities, they just sort of scream old school, constrictive. I don't know. They feel very boyish to me. They feel, I think there's a mindset that like tighty whities are for little boys. I think that's probably what you're running into there.
Yeah, I just don't understand it. Like the guy has no clothes, he needs to clean underwear, but he just will not do the tighty whities.
Right. So yeah, you're like,
Again,
I totally get that.
It's very, very human.
It is. We all have our preferences. I think, we do have time. We do have our question that I
I'm
think
ready.
you as a valued member of our community are so aware of. Polly, what is the most Gen X song of all time?
Well, I don't know if it's of all time, but I know which Gen X song I like the most.
Let's hear it.
That's a good
Ray
answer.
of Light.
Oh, Madonna.
Yes.
That's what
And
Lawrence is.
I love the video. And
yes.
I was a long time ago, I was getting into spinning, on a bike.
Yeah.
And the instructor played Ray of Light. And he was a really musical guy. And I just got on that bike and I'm like, oh my God, I'm hooked. And so
I love that song, Polly.
Lawrence was so obsessed with that record.
Yeah.
Well, it came at a really good point in her career because she'd just done Evita. She was really tuned up. She was into the Kabbalah stuff,
Yes.
Anyway, I just think I love that song too, and the video.
Right.
Oh, it's
and
beautiful.
William Orbit did the sound production on that particular album. And I think that song is so classic, and it is a perfect exemplar of the moment in time that it was created, right? Like it's just
it really captures the club scene.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. That's a great answer, Polly.
Yeah, no one's ever given that one before. I don't even know if anyone's said it.
And then a number two would be Groove is in the Heart.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That is a great one, too. Another iconic song for completely different reasons. Yeah.
Yes. You put that song on even today. I was at a Halloween dance party that came on. Everybody to the floor. Like, there's just no passing go, no collecting $200. You hear that do, boom, you're on the dance floor.
Yeah.
It's perfect. And look at that. We are like exactly hitting the time mark. Polly, it has been such a pleasure. We have to do more of these, Lawrence, where we like bring folks to life from the chat. So if you are out there in the chat and would like to come say hello and tell us what you're up to, we would love to highlight more community members. And Polly, thank you for reaching out.
You're welcome.
And thank you for the work that you do. It's so important.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And if you want to do puttering sometime, you let me know.
Oh my God, we never even got to talking about puttering.
I know. Because we were puttering about volunteering.
We're too busy talking about volunteering to possibly putter. Thanks to everyone for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thanks for being my best friend, Lawrence. This was so much fun, as always.
Thanks, Polly.
Bye. Thank you.
Everybody.
Take care, everybody. Love you,
Bye.
Nina. Bye.
Mwah. Mwah. And we're